Something significant happened in the chamber this week, and it did not go the way Keir Starmer would have wanted. A direct, documented challenge was put to the Prime Minister. Not a political rumor, not a campaign attack, but a formal letter from the House of Lords Appointments Commission, raising questions about confidential advice linked to a peerage nomination. Flynn had done his homework. He came prepared. And what he got in return told us everything we need to know about where this government currently stands. Starmer built his entire public identity on the law, on process, on doing things by the book. So when he is accused of receiving confidential propriety warnings and choosing to ignore them for political convenience, that is not a minor embarrassment. That is a direct attack on the one thing he has always used as his shield. Watch this exchange very carefully, because what Starmer says matters far less than how he...
The newspapers. And towards the end of last year, indeed on the 30th of December, having written to the House of Lords Appointments Commission, I received a response from the Chair, who advised me that as part of their vetting, they provide confidential advice to the Prime Minister on the propriety of a potential nominee. Will he release that advice?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've made my position for clear. He knows how the system works. But, Mr. Speaker, he says he reads the newspapers. He will have read that in 9 days their former party chief executive goes on trial for embezzling money. And if he'll have read that the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, we see one of the worst failures in Scottish public life. Vulnerable children and adults put at risk. Evidence of serious warnings to the SNP government were ignored. He should have been looking at those, not looking at the newspapers. The First Minister should act because families deserve accountability.
That response from the Prime Minister was not a defense. It was a pivot. Rather than address the substance of Flynn's challenge, rather than explain what the confidential advice contained or why it should remain buried, Starmer reached for Scotland. He raised a former SNP figure facing fraud charges. He raised hospital failures north of the border. These may be legitimate political points on another day, but in that moment, in response to that specific question, they were a diversion. And the chamber knew it. Whataboutism is the last resort of a politician who cannot answer what is being asked. It signals that the ground beneath you is shaky. For a man who once led the Crown Prosecution Service, who made his name on the principle that no one is above the law, being seen to dodge a question about transparency is a particularly damaging image to project. The deeper issue here is not one exchange at the dispatch box, it is the pattern. A government that came to power promising openness is increasingly associated with the language of secrecy, deflection, and institutional protection. Every time Starmer refuses to release something, every time he changes the subject, his critics gain another piece of evidence to work with. Whether or not this ultimately damages him will depend on whether the public connects the dots. But moments like this one make it significantly easier for his opponents to draw the picture. If you found this breakdown useful, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because UK politics is moving fast, and we are here to make sense of every moment.